She's like, my business needs to take in 10K a month for me to live any type of life. And I was like, oh my God, that's so much money.
Especially women, like people find it so unattractive. You hear some old fashioned bullshit about women having ambition and like wanting money, but it's crazy because like we see that attitude in a guy and we find it like hot. So it's like, friends, my name is Katharine Quinn. I'm a 30-something living in New York City and working on Broadway, and I am here with Broadway photographer Rebecca Michelson.
Hi. Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. Tired, busy, grateful, all the things.
All of the things. I was saying this before we started recording, but I have gotten multiple DMs from people being like, who books Broadway photographers and how do you become a Broadway photographer? So to those people, what would you say? And also, like, what does that mean that you're a Broadway photographer? Are you doing rehearsal room photography? Are you doing production photos? Are you doing events, opening nights, red carpets, backstage? Like, what do you do?
All of the above. Mostly focus on like events and like concerts, like stage performance. You know, that's like my sweet spot. So like opening nights and red carpets and all the things that you said. And I also do video, so a little bit of everything. But
how did this happen?
Honestly, like kind of by happenstance. I actually started my business like in like May 2018. I started like building my portfolio when I was still working in casting, and I honestly fell into theater by accident. I like grew up like loving theater. I'm from Philadelphia, so like my family would come into New York every couple of months to see a show. So I was like very like cultured thanks to them, like the arts. So I loved theater and I went to a lot of theater. I reached out to a couple people about helping me build my portfolio and they happened to be in theater, and then it kind of just snowballed from there, and then I accidentally became a photographer. But it's really like all about like who, like, you know, knowing people, like networking. I know like we all hate that term, but like it's really like talking to people and letting them know. I mean, I'm still like learning too, but you know, letting people know you're available and like what you're interested in. And I think it's important to have a strong portfolio if you're trying to like get into any type of photography, but it's also, I want to like stress that you have to put a limit on your portfolio building. Like you say, I'm going to do 3 projects and then I'm going to start charging, because otherwise you will get stuck in a vicious cycle of not being able to get paid for anything. So
wow. Who books Broadway photographers?
Kind of all across the board. It's like, it's really confusing, honestly. I still haven't figured it out. I'm still learning. It could be booked by the talent that's performing. It could be booked by the producer that's producing the show. You could be booked by the venue, which like doesn't happen as much. If there's a press rep involved, it could be the press rep. Broadway, same thing. It could be the press rep. It could be the lead producer hires you. It could be like literally even like the lighting designer hires you. Like I have friends that get hired by lighting designers to do photo shoots, the social media teams. It's like all over the place, and it's still confusing to me to like figure out who is in charge of booking what, but it's kind of fun.
I was going to say, I'm going to have to show some of your fabulous work that you've done that we've been able to do together, because it's awesome. And you've done such a variety. Like Rebecca did our rehearsal room photos at Paper Mill, also has done gorgeous influencer portraits, also has done, what else have you done?
I did
portraits of like all of the principals.
Yeah, I did.
Like at least half of them.
After party vibes. I kind of have done every type of photography, I would say, for you, except like production photos.
Yeah, so. I appreciate all this info, but the reason we're here is not only to unpack these questions, which people have asked me before, and so I think in general people will find valuable, but mainly because I'm very knowledgeable about investing. I love personal finance. Half of the books on my bookshelf are like Warren Buffett's annual letters to his shareholders is like a book that I have read before. Like when we talk about nerd, like I am a nerd. So like personal finance, I can totally talk you through. Retirement accounts, I can talk you through. However, my business went from only employing me to I now hire out 8 contractors at least every single week. There is additional contractors like on top of that for like one-off things. So my business has grown. I have not been prepared for business finance. And I sort of expressed this in an Instagram story yesterday or 2 days ago. And Rebecca was like, hey girl, I love this shit. And let's talk. So what has been your journey with personal finance, like, or business finance? Like, how did it happen that, like, at least in personal finance, people are like, I'm just afraid of it, so I don't touch it. For me, it hasn't been intentional that I'm ignoring business finance. It's just that my business grew very quickly. Everything happened very fast. And so I just now am in a place where it's like, okay, I can be methodical about this, but I don't know where to begin. So how did that happen for you? And like, what might you recommend to me as I'm like in this position, not as a financial advisor, but as a friend who this is a special interest of yours?
I was going to say I'm not by any means an expert. I love talking about business, like anything, but business specifically like money and finance, because I think it's really important, especially as women. Like, I just think we don't talk about money enough, and it's like important and also scary. And like, I don't know, I think like being a freelancer is so scary and overwhelming. And if you're not like really on top of it and you're not like super organized, and I'm not organized in most aspects of my life, but like with my finances, I can be. It's been like a little bit of a journey, but I honestly like, because I don't have contractors, so I work for myself. But I actually think it's like more important if you have contractors to be like really on top of your finances, obviously. Yeah. I think I was like very overwhelmed at the beginning of my journey because I was kind of doing this on my own. I didn't really know, especially coming into it as like, you know, having worked in TV and like on a contracted basis and on W-2s, and like I had no idea what was happening. My mom used to run my dad's practice. He's a doctor, and she used to like run all of his billing and stuff for like years. And so the first thing she said was like, you need to start a spreadsheet and you need to keep track of every single job that you do. And this was like in 2018 when I had like 3 paid gigs. It's like I like started a spreadsheet just from the get-go, like keep track of all your gigs and like how much you're getting paid and like who's paying you and how they're paying you. And like if you're not organized, you will miss out on a lot of money. Like, unfortunately, that's how it works as a freelancer, I think, in like every capacity.
Well, I was going to say, Rebecca immediately was like, are you aware of Profit First? Which is so wild because literally I just finished I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. I don't know if he recommends it or as a result of my listening to that, Audible is like, you should probably listen to Profit First. And so many personal finance people that I follow recommend Profit First. But because I've been in this like personal investing, retirement accounts and value investing and just like for the individual headspace, I have not been in that mindset, and that needs to change now. So I know, again, like you're a business owner who does photography as opposed to like the expert on business finance, but for artists, like what is the general idea of Profit First?
Yeah, so Profit First, I think was started as a book by Mike Michalowicz, I think is how you pronounce his last name. So there's a whole book about it. I actually haven't read the book, I'm not gonna lie. But there is like a great YouTube video where he breaks it down. Or someone
I'll link it down in the show notes.
Someone breaks it down. It's 20 minutes. It's really, really so easy to understand if you don't have time to read the book. But like he came up with this idea that basically is like when you do normal like finances, you kind of just like pay all your bills, and then like what's left over is like for you to keep and spend and save and do whatever you want with it. And his idea was that like in order to build a business, it should always be profit first. So instead of it being like you pay your bills and then you make what's left over, you pay yourself, and then what's left over pays your bills, which like doesn't sound like it would be really super helpful. But the idea is that
sounds scary.
It does sound scary, especially if you're like just starting out. And obviously, you know, like when you're first starting out, you're really like breaking even or even like losing money on your business because you have to spend money to make money. We all know that. I say this all the time. I'm like, I have to spend thousands of dollars on gear in order to like do my job. Right. And it's very scary. But like now that I'm in it, My same friend I was talking about before from college, her name is Paige Burns. If anyone needs an amazing videographer in Boston, she
shout out Paige
runs
Burns.
a video business. She's amazing. She was like, you have to do profit first. You have to do profit first. And I like put it off for a while. And then in 2022, I created my LLC. And so I was like, okay, I have an LLC, which was very expensive. But for legal purposes, I just wanted to be protected, made my LLC. And then I was like, okay, next step, get a business bank account. So I went to Chase, I got a business bank account, which you need like a DBA, you need like an EIN for. So like I could only do that after I made my LLC. And then I was like, okay, I have a business bank account. I opened one checking and one savings. And she was like, you got to do profit first. You have to do profit first. So I basically called her and was like, can you explain it to me? Can you walk me through it? Can you help me? So the idea is that like you again make your profit first. So the goal would be that 50% of every paycheck that you make goes directly to you into your personal bank account. That's what you're like paying yourself. Now it's different if you're like obviously running a business. If you have an S corp, it's very different because you have to like, you know, pay yourself a salary anyway, but the same idea can still exist on an S corp. It's just like you're paying that as a salary rather than what I do, which is I do my finances twice a month on the 1st and the 15th, my favorite day of the month. I love profit first days. But so you set your own percentages, and there's like, you're supposed to have 5 buckets, but I have 4 buckets. I really simplified it. There's like a lot more to it, but the idea is like you have 4 buckets. So I have 4 bank accounts, 2 checking and 2 savings within my Chase account. And you have a income account. So that's where every single check gets deposited directly into that account, every check. And then you have a business operations account, you have a taxes account, and you have a profit account, which kind of just acts as like a bonus account or like an emergency fund. That's how I use it. But the idea, again, is that everything is profit first. So like everything gets deposited into your income account, and then twice a month, you're going to separate it out. I think a big mistake that freelancers make is like they don't realize getting into freelance that like they need to save money for taxes because you're used to getting on a W-2, and now all of a sudden you're on a 1099. On a W-2, the government's taking your taxes out directly. On a 1099 lifestyle, you're only doing 1099 work. No one's taking your taxes out. So you have to be prepared as a freelancer to pay not only normal taxes, but 15% extra for self-employment tax. So we're looking at like 35 to 40% of our income is for taxes. Now, somehow the math is like super magical. I save 25% of every paycheck for taxes, and somehow it pays my taxes. Don't ask me how. I don't know if I have
expenses and all of that. I'm sure
money up front, yeah, expenses and all that. But so there's an idea of like they offer, the book like offers you ideas of like percentages. I've made my own percentages based on how much I want to and know that I spend. So every month I take what's in my income account. 50% of that gets transferred directly to my personal bank account. That is
savings or checking.
It doesn't matter. I mean, I send it to my checking account because then it pretty much just pays my rent and my credit card bills. New York is freaking expensive. If everyone
no joke.
Not know. But you can transfer it wherever you want, and then from there you could split it into like, you know, if you want to pay it, put it into like your retirement fund, or like you want to put it into like a fund that you have to pay your rent, or you want to put it directly into savings. Like you could do what you want with that, but 50% of that is your money. Because if you don't make the point to like give yourself a 50% paycheck, then you could run the risk of like, let's say hiring on more people than you can pay, or spending too much money, you know, on gear for myself. Like if I spend $10,000 on gear, but like I only made $5,000 that month, like, like I can't pay my bills. So that 50% upfront is like the way that you're guaranteeing yourself to make a profit on your business. And of course, again, this is like very hard when you're first starting out and you might have to do like much slimmer numbers, but then the goal is like you work your way up to the 50%. I was lucky I had already had my business bank account for about like a year before I decided to add the 2 extra bank accounts on to start doing profit first. So I already had money saved up, just like in those checking and savings accounts. So I was able to like jump into that 50%. So then I put 25% directly into my taxes account in the savings account. So that's making interest. I don't touch it. I pay all my estimated taxes out of that account right there. Third account, business operations. I put 20% in. Last year it was 25 and 20% for taxes. I flip-flopped them. We'll see how it goes. I put 20% in business expenses. What this allows is that means that I can only spend the amount of money that is in that bank account. And this has been like life-changing for my business, because Profit First in general has been life-changing because it's shown me like that I am making a profit on my business. And previously I would just be like, I need a new camera. I'm going to drop $3,000. But now it's like, I need a new camera. Oh, I don't have $3,000. Like, of course, I have $3,000. I have $3,000 in my personal bank account. I even have it in my income account and my taxes account. But if I don't have it in that business operations account, then I can't spend it. Or if I'm like, I need to hire a second shooter for something and I need to pay them $1,000. I need to make sure that the gig is paying me enough money that 20% of that is going to land in that bucket so that I can pay my second shooter. Or that I need to make sure I have that money already around. So it's really helped me like also scale back on my spending and like knowing what's like actually feasible. Like, am I actually making enough money from all the projects I'm doing to like pay for my business? And so far it's been great. I've been like kind of on like the lower end because I spent too much money last year. So I've been like floating around like the 4 or 5K in that business operations bank account. But like, I've not been spending money therefore because I don't have it, you know? So like, or I pay my health insurance out of that bank account because I asked my accountant if I could do that. It's a business expense. It comes right out of there. So I need to make sure I have $500+ in there every month to pay my health insurance. So that's been life-changing. And then the profit account, the last one, is just 5%. And that's kind of like a bonus, emergency fund. I look at it like if I run out of money in my business operations account, I can pay myself. If I run out of money for taxes, I can pay out of there. And then otherwise the money at the end of the year, I pay myself like a bonus. And not to overstate that again, I'm not an expert in this. I just really love it. And also I find that it's very helpful because you can kind of like play around with it. You could do whatever you want. It really helped me also like understand my worth and like how much I charge for things because, someone being like, can you do this gig for $100? I'm like, well, that's really only $50 because I'm only making ever 50% of what I'm being paid. And then it's like, well, if I want to make like 6 figures, if I want to take home 6 figures, like I need to make $200,000 in a year, right? So it's like really helpful. It's been helpful for that. And also every 2 weeks being like, oh, I'm able to send myself X amount of dollars. I'm actually making a profit because I'm sending myself more than it costs to live in my apartment, which is like nice,
Wow.
So super helpful. And I think for someone that's like you, that's like running an actual like full-fledged business where you have multiple contractors, like you can finagle your numbers and be like, okay, this is what I'm paying my contractors every week. So I need like 30% of my income to go right to business operations because I need to make sure I can pay these people. Whether or not these invoices are coming in on time, I need to make sure I can pay these people. I think it's super helpful to be able to like know that you're making a profit and not spending more money than you have coming in, which I think is like the ultimate goal.
Damn, preach.
Like it's not that confusing when you like break it down, like really simplify it,
No, it's still overwhelming, but it is not confusing. And it's only overwhelming to just like the prospect of like figuring out my percentages, taking stock of everything. It's also tricky because like part of the freelance life is like your income is coming from so many different places. And like for me, I do voiceover as well, and everything is under my entertainment corporation, which is called Voice by Kate, but also does all of the my directing and choreography gigs, and like all of it falls under that because it's an entertainment corporation. And my accountant was like, they all can go there. So it's just like trying to figure out, and I think it's, this is not your problem to solve. It's for me and an accountant and, a financial professional. It feels like social media marketing is the new part of this for me. It's like the marketing agency part of this is the new part of all this for me. It felt much simpler when it was just like voiceovers and me as theater contractor, obviously.
It's easier before you brought other people in. Like once you bring other people in, that's how you scale your business. Like that's how you're going to have like $1 million business, right? Is by hiring people. But when you hire people, then you have other people to think about, not just yourself. So when you have 10 invoices that are late and you can't pay your rent, that's your own problem. But when you can't pay other people, like that is a detriment, like that no one wants to be in that position. So I think it's almost like more important for you. Like for me, it's just like kind of a convenience that I'm able to do profit first because I can keep track of all my expenses and my finance. And, you know, I also have a spreadsheet for all my expenses and everything that I spend and every cab that I take and all the things. And I also keep track of every company that should be sending me a 1099 so that I can look out for 1099s. I needed about 47 of them last year.
Oh my God.
Track of everything. It's like, it's crazy. And so it's like one more thing to think about, but I think it's like really helpful. And the biggest like thing that I wish that I knew when I was first starting out in freelance was like, have a separate bank account for your business. That like changed my life. And I think like a lot of people don't think about it. And when I was first starting out, I was doing everything out of my personal bank account. And then I was like, I need a camera. Like, I guess I'm just going to spend this money from my savings account for a camera. Separating the two when I got my business bank account, like, was the first thing that changed my business because I was able to actually see, like, how much am I bringing in and how much am I spending? And let me be clear that that does not mean you have to have a business bank account. A business bank account you can only have with an LLC or an S Corp. Like you need to have an EIN. Again, I mentioned that. You don't need to have a business bank account. You just need to have a bank account that is just for your business. My friend my friend is like an amazing photographer and she makes probably so much money doing photography. And she just has a second savings account, like within her normal bank account that is just designated. Like that is where all of her direct deposits and her checks get deposited into that bank account. Now, what she does from there, I have no idea. I would not be able to keep track of my money like that. But like, I think that that is like the most important thing when you're starting out is just like open a new bank account. It's free. Like it's free to open a bank account for the most part. You might just have to like keep $1,000 in there to not get a service fee. I don't know. That's how Chase is. That's how Chase business is. You have to keep $1,000 in each bank account to not get fees.
I think the other thing that I like, again, freelance problems is it's like, okay, well, is my profit percentage the same for my voiceover business versus social media versus I feel like social media and my Airbnb, the profit percentage would probably be about the same and the business operations would be about the same, which is to say high. And then voiceover, there's much lower overhead. And so,
yeah, so I think I don't know. Change. I think you could, I mean, I don't actually know like what they recommend, but I would say for yourself, you're like, oh, I only have 10%, you know, business operations for voiceovers, like just to even be safe, 10%. And then you're like, so my profit's going to be 65%, you know? But like for the most part, I would say most businesses, like it's hard because I would try to look at it from like an overall business platform, I guess. I don't know. Like, I just feel like that would maybe be like easier. I have no idea. I don't know what it's like to be running like multiple businesses. Again, I work for myself. I sometimes hire freelancers to be like second shooters or like whatever, but I mostly work for myself. So it's like way more simplistic when you work for yourself. But I think like just even like finding something that works for you so you're not like overwhelmed by this. And it's just like the amount of invoices that come in when you have like 8 people working for you or whatever you said is like, what do you do with that? You know, like you want someone you want to do something with it because otherwise it's like so overwhelming. And then you're like, oh, I guess I just gotta, but like if you're paying out all these people, like you just for like numbers people, like I'm a numbers person. I like to use my brain. Like I just want to be able to like visualize that I am actually making a profit and that like the business that I'm running is actually making a profit enough for me to like live in this city, right? And I think for you, like you want to make sure your business is making a profit enough that like you should have 8 people that are working for you. Because if you're like losing money, then like maybe you need to rethink some of your finances, you know? So it's just helpful to be able to like literally see that you're making a profit on your business, whether the profit is like 10%, 50%, 90%, whatever it is, you know?
I have a good question for you then. 2 questions. One is, at what point, like how long, when somebody's starting a business in the arts, how long is too long for you to be at a loss when you're starting?
I don't I don't know. That's a good question.
It's an opinion question. It's not, there's no empirical rule, but like, what do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I would say I was lucky that I had a lot of money saved up from like my previous work where I had steady work for like 6 years in order to like start a business. But like, if I had to look at my finances, I mean, I was probably like losing money in my business, at least for like the first like year and a half, because especially doing what I do, and it's like you have to have all the gear. How do you like do the job without spending a lot of money to do the job? I don't think I wouldn't say there's any like right answers. Just like if you want to be like, losing money in your business for like a couple years to get it off the ground and you have the backing to do that, like go ahead. Some people don't have those means, so like they can't do that. I think that's when you look at it and you say, oh, I need to charge more money. I need to charge more money so I can get out of this hole
cycle. Yeah.
I don't know. It's totally, up to the person and how dedicated they are to their business. And, if you give yourself a deadline and you're like, hey, I'm going to give myself 18 months to like get this to start making a profit. And if I don't make a profit, then I'm going to figure out something else. And I said that so many times when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, even when I was casting, and I would say to my mom, like, I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like I'm not making enough money. I want to be constantly employed. Like, why am I not working right now? What's happening? And I was like, I'm going to give myself like 18 months to figure it out. And then 18 months would come and I'm like, well, still doing this. I don't know what's next. When I was starting my business, I said, I don't know if this is a sustainable career. I don't know if I could make enough money in theater to like live my life how I want to live. And I, for like 2 years before the pandemic, was like, I don't know if this is sustainable. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if I should be doing this. Should I go do something else? I'm not making enough money. And then we came out of the pandemic. I actually during the pandemic, I took a video for business course that has since like imploded and doesn't exist anymore. But my friend from college, again, had recommended it. And it's basically like, it was teaching you how to do video for small businesses, which I wanted to pivot into during the pandemic because theater was not existing. But small businesses will always need video. Corporations will always need video. But what I learned the most was like the sales part, but also like the worth part, like how much people charge for what I do and how little I was charging for what I do. So like that actually like really changed my mindset, and like that helped me get out of the pandemic. And I'm still learning like literally every single day and like figuring out what people charge and what's appropriate and like how much money I can make in this aspect versus the other aspect. And it's like, you're always learning and growing, but like that helped me kind of get out of my pre-pandemic hole of like, will I ever make money from this job? So yeah, I think it's just based on the individual and like how much you want to kick your own butt into gear, and like how much confidence you have in yourself to raise your rates and charge what you're worth.
When do you think is the right time to incorporate?
I did a lot of research on that, and I talked to like a lot of people. I know people that are doing like 6-figure work still as a sole proprietor. There is like nothing stopping you. And even my accountant was like, I don't really think you need to be an LLC. Like, it doesn't help your taxes really. It has certain protections and not other protections. I chose to make my LLC, and obviously, again, there's like single member LLC, there's like multi-member LLC. Then you get to S Corp, which is like incorporating your business, which means you're paying taxes on your business and your personal taxes, which saves you the 15% self-employment tax, but gives you a lot more work to do, and you have to pay taxes on other things. Whole thing. Then there's like all these other levels above it. I'm just single member LLC. So I still do my taxes as a sole proprietor, which is kind of annoying. And I still have to use my social security number on all my W-9s, which is also kind of annoying, but it was the best option. As I work for myself, I don't see myself like bringing in a bunch of people to work underneath me. If I had a regular photography business, I probably would, but as a theater photographer, it doesn't make sense for the most part. But yeah, I decided to get my LLC when during the pandemic, was like pivoting outside of theater, and I was pitching projects that were like $5,000-$6,000. And I was like, I don't think I can like be pitching projects that are like thousands of dollars and like not have a legal business, because for some reason, especially in like the market that I was doing, which was like big corporations I was going to do video for. And I was like, I don't want to get sued. Like, if you get sued as an LLC, then technically they're suing. And it would be for like, like a copyright issue or like a something like that, it wouldn't really be, it's unlikely, but there's, in case it were to happen, they could really only take you for what your business is worth and not for what you are personally. So it's also based on your personal worth and like how much you have, as you talked about, you love personal finances, how much you're worth personally, how much you have invested, how much money you have saved. You don't want that all wiped away. So ideally, they would only be able to take you if you're sued. They can only sue your business if you do work under your LLC. And same with your S Corp, obviously. It depends what you are. But yeah, so.
Okay, first of all, thank you. Second of all, I had a sort of like, this is a wrap-up question. What are your goals for your business?
That's a great question. I am like the type of person, I think we're like very similar in this aspect. Like I love working and I love being busy and I don't like to sit still. And I think that I have constantly been like updating goals in like a small way. Like I'm like, I want to make X amount of dollars every month. And of course in theater, we know it ebbs and flows. So there's some months where I don't expect to make that and some months where I would exceed it. I like totally full transparency. I had a friend, she's a really brilliant like product photographer here in New York City. And, during the pandemic, we were talking and I was just like, I just don't know like what I'm going to do. Like, what am I going to do? How am I going to make money? How am I going to make a living? Like, is this feasible? And she was like, yeah, like in my business, I find that I need to make like 10K a month to just like live like a basic life, like not like an extravagant life. Which is like, we live in New York City. We want to live an extravagant life. She was like, my business, and she is an S Corp, so it's like a little different, but she's like, my business needs to take in 10K a month in order to like, for me to live any type of life. And I was like, oh my God, that's so much money. Like I could never do that in theater. Then like you look at it and if you're going off of profit first, like you're really only taking home like $60,000 in your pocket if you make 10K a month on your business. And then the other 50% goes into your business. That's not a lot of money. Like that's not a lot of money. But when she said
especially in New York.
When she said that, it like blew my mind. And I was like, I could never, like, how would I ever make that? Because I was like not doing that at the time. This might have been before the pandemic. I don't remember. Flat goal is like, has been like, make 10K a month. Does it happen?
Work.
Not always. Is it great when it happens? Yes. Have I gone above it? Yes. It's like super ebbs and flows, but like that is like my baseline goal just based on that conversation. And that was like, I mean, we've had inflation since then. Like ideally, would I like to make $25,000 a month every single month? Yes. Would I like to be a millionaire? Yes. Would I like to be able to like buy an apartment? Yes.
Work, Rebecca. Make it happen.
I think that's like a good baseline goal to like just like be able to like pay your bills and like go out to dinner a couple times a month, like I think, and like have
that's
a savings
crazy
account.
But true.
Like have a savings account, like I have a Roth IRA and a what's the other one? A SEP. I just opened a SEP IRA and that is like crazy. The Roth IRA, you can put like 65K in cap every year. Well, it changes. And then the
6,500, 6.5K.
I said 6,500. Did I not? What did I say? 6,500.
Oh, you said 100. You did. In my head, I went 1,000. You're right.
The Roth IRA is like, it caps, right? And then the SEP IRA, which I just opened, which I'm learning about, is like 20% of your income if you're a freelancer. So it's like up
to a certain amount though, right?
I don't know. I haven't gotten that.
But it's a high limit. Oh, I haven't put that much money in mine, but
it's a lot of money. And it is like the more money that I make, the more money that I spend. The more money that I make, the more money I have to put in that account in order to save on tax, in order to save for retirement. Like I'm a kind of person, I'm like, my goal is 20%. I'm going to put 20% in there. I will not put 20% in there. I don't have that kind of But like, it's like I'm never satisfied. I want more. I want to constantly be making more. The more I make, the more I spend, the higher my health insurance is. We pay for our own health insurance as a freelancer. The more taxes I pay, like you hit that next tax bracket, you're like, goodbye to all my money, So it's like, I'm never going to be satisfied. I want to make as much money as possible, but I'm also like trying to teach myself that like, it's okay to like have a work-life balance, which is very hard. My short-term goals are to like work less for more money. I think that should be everyone's goal. Does it always happen? No. Again, it's an ebb and a flow. But I think, my goal is to just make as much money as possible, because I would like to like
get it
one day. I would like to like be able to like go out to dinner and like just be like, I got it. Because I have like just extra money laying around. I want to go like be on the board of a charity and just be able to like donate a bunch of money every year. Like those are like big goals.
Rebecca, I'm living for this. I love it. I love it. I think it's so taboo for like, especially women, like people find it so unattractive to like, or like unbecoming or some old fashioned bullshit about women having ambition and like wanting money. But it's crazy because like we see that attitude in a guy and we find it like hot. So it's like, I find it very refreshing that you're just like, yeah, bare minimum, I want 10K a month, but like ideally I'd like 25K a month. Thank you so much. Like, yes, get it.
I think it's important to have like, especially if you work in a facet of a different type of photography or like a different outside of the arts, I don't know, you're a freelancer or like you're a graphic designer, I don't know. I think it's important to like set monetary goals every month. And like, again, like I can't make 10K every month. Like that's like not possible really in this industry. I mean, it could be obviously, but I think like I am very like, I know what months I'll be really busy and what months I'll be a little slower. And then I'm able to like, I think it's important to have those baseline goals, because then when you hit them, like you're like, oh my God, I did it, you know, celebrate. And I can't remember who gave me this advice, but they were like, when you like hit, you know, like we work for ourselves, we spend a lot of time alone. We don't have like a team that's like cheerleading us most of the time. So I think it's important to obviously like, you know, do this and like talk to other freelancers where you can like share those happy moments, but also like you should do some, like when you hit a goal that you're proud of, or like you book a really big project, like you should do something that is like physically rewarding. Like I will like get a massage, you know, like I'll treat myself to a massage, or like I will like get my nails done, something that I can like look at or like remember the feeling of, to be like, oh, I did it. I did that.
I love all of this. I'm so happy to know this about you. It's crazy because like
I still can't pay my bills, so it doesn't even matter. We live in New York. It's
crazy. It's crazy. Well, I think like, I don't want to take all your time, so we will wrap up, but like, I think that has probably been the most shocking and one of the biggest lessons that I have been learning, is especially now that I am employing other humans, but even prior to that, like I've been contracting voiceover editors for 6 years or something. So I've had contractors for a while, just a lot more now, and like way more money going out. But it's just that when I was babysitting, you know, in New York City, and I was like really like cash only, like really scrappy. And I made like so little money, like $35,000 or something the first year I was in New York. Like, how does one live on that? I had 3 roommates and my rent was like $500 for my room. I make much more money than that now, and I'm still paycheck to paycheck. And I think I let lifestyle creep really happen to me hard because I saw bigger numbers coming in, but my business expenses have also gone up exponentially. And so even though you would think, for instance, $10,000 in a month is an outrageous amount of money, regrettably, I mean, after taxes alone, that's $6K for the month. And then if you're contracting people out for thousands of dollars a month, like it doesn't, and then you have to pay your rent or your mortgage, you know, it's just like, it doesn't, and I'm not here to boo-hoo. That's not the point. The point is like, that was, it continues to surprise me. And well, I guess it has surprised me. And I'm now in a place where I'm like taking inventory and I'm like, okay, bitch, you're in your 30s, you own a business, it's growing, but like, let's be a little, it's ridiculous at this point to just be like, okay, well, I'll just like book more work and then it's all going to be, no, like I should know every single thing that's coming in, every single thing that's going out, and be super methodical about all of it. And it's just, it's time.
I think that's why I like talking about this, because I think it's like a lot of people, even that do like the hiring of like people like us, don't understand the actual, like, you know, they probably have a full-time job, especially if it's like someone like an agency that's hiring, they have a full-time job. So they don't really understand all the expenses that go into running a business. So to them, like $500 is a lot of money. And to me, $500 is not a lot of money, because I look at it like I'm only pocketing $250 of your $500, and then I have to pay probably 35 to 40% taxes on what's left over. And then I also have to buy a new camera because I've had my camera for 2 years and it's gonna shit out on me, you know? So it's like, I think it's important.
Do you take taxes out of your own profit?
No, my profit is 50%, and that goes straight into my bank account, and the taxes come out of the other 50%, where the 20, 25, 5% ratios land. Right. And again, if you're like starting your finances from scratch, you're going to have to save more than 25% for your taxes. But I have been lucky that I already had like 3 years of my business happening before I started really focusing on my finances. So I had money saved up in order to pay my taxes. And then of course, you know, you have like estimated taxes and all this like bullshit that we have to do. It's like, it's never ending.
I love it.
But it really, I mean, again, like Profit First has really helped me like be able to like make sure I have that money to pay my taxes and to pay all my business expenses. And if my camera breaks or whatever, like I have money to buy a new one sometimes, you know.
Good for you.
And like, you know, and then everything that's the 50% goes into my bank account so I can like hopefully pay my rent and my credit card bills. And then maybe I'll have something left over to like put in my savings account. You know, it's like, New York is expensive. Yes, I do. It's expensive. And
how people have children is beyond me.
I think, correct. Oh, that's a conversation for another time. But yeah, don't get caught up in like more work, more money. Cause that is where we're going to fail ourselves. Is like, I'm like, I need to work as much as possible. I said to my friend yesterday, I was like, we have plans later this month. I was like, if someone asked me to work that night, I'm going to text you and you're going to say, no, Rebecca, you need to take a night off.
Good.
We're going to go see this show that we bought tickets to. Because I can't just work every single day. It's not.
I have surgery next week, and Tia was like, I'm literally taking your phone and your watch away from you. And I'm like, you can't. Surgery's on a Thursday. People are going to be contacting me. Like, I can just be slower to respond. And then on Friday, I'm sure it'll be fine. They were like, no, Thursday and Friday, you don't have access to them. You can get them back on Monday. Thank you so much, which is so stressful to me.
Yes.
So dumb.
Yeah.
It's so dumb, especially in our industry where it's like, I literally will get an email or a text from a colleague at 6 a.m. in the morning and also at 2 a.m. in the morning and also at 11 p.m. It's crazy.
Well, that's like a whole other conversation about freedom.
What are boundaries?
Everyone like,
and I do it too, so I can't like bemoan it, you know?
But people don't realize that they're not your only client sometimes, and they like want you to be available for all the things, which is like very hard because I am a people pleaser, so I want to be available for all the things at all the time. So I will, in fact, at 2 a.m, edit something for you if you told me that you needed tomorrow morning, which is like a bigger problem and a conversation for another time. But I don't know. Hopefully this was helpful for you, and also like anyone that watched it to like start thinking about their finances. I don't know. I love talking about it.
I so appreciate it. I'm like, it should be a series. We'll come back and we'll talk about another part of freelance life because people don't talk about it enough. And especially like freelance life on Broadway is such a specific niche, or freelance life as theater creators or theater or artists in general. I don't know. Like, maybe we should do it again, Rebecca. Leave a comment down below if you're watching and you want more freelance content. Just like, let us know what you want to see, what questions you have. But thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. If people want to follow you, where should they follow you?
I'm mostly on Instagram. It's just my name. It's Rebecca Michelson, Michelson. There is no A in it, despite the way
we love it.
Yeah, that's where I mostly live. Is
amazing. Thank you again. And friends, thank you so much for watching. As always, I invite you to follow me on Instagram and TikTok at It's Katharine Quinn. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It's the surest way to let the YouTube algorithm know what wonderful people to push this video out to, people like yourself. Thank you so much, Rebecca, and we'll see you next time.